All right, so on the left-hand side, we have what's called exponential form, which you should know from Math 1 and Math 2. And so for exponential form, we have what's called the base. And we raise that to a power, which we know is an exponent. Okay, and if someone says simplify, then you know that they're really just asking you for the answer. Okay, so an example would be if I said 3 squared, 3 would be the base, it's to the second power, that's the exponent, and then if I tell you to simplify, you would tell me, well, 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay, so that's stuff that we already know because we've done that. What we're learning this unit is called a logarithm, and we're never going to write the word logarithm, we're just going to write log. So, in the other box, you're going to write log. And the base is always lower. So in a logarithm, the base goes down. And then we have an answer. And it has to equal my exponent. So log base is lower. Above the base, you write the word answer, and then equals the exponent. So a logarithm is the inverse of an exponential. So if you know your power is like 3 squared, or 2 to the third, or 4 squared, 5 cubed, things like that, doing a logarithm won't be that bad because it's pretty much doing the opposite. All right, so does anyone need more time on the exponential form or the logarithmic form? Okay, so if you're done, go ahead and turn it to the inside. That way I know we're all done. All right, so when you're doing a logarithm, to get what goes on the other side of the equal sign, you're trying to figure out the exponent. So for the top one, it says log base 4 of 64. So the question I'm really asking myself in my head is 4 to what power is 64? Or how many times do I have to multiply 4 by itself? How many times? 3. So log base 4 of 64, the answer is 3. So it equals 3. And then once you figure out that it's 3, you're done. That's the answer. So then for the one underneath it, it says log base 4 of 16. So I'm asking, how many times do I have to multiply 4 by itself to get 16? Twice. How many times do I have to multiply 5 by itself?
3 times.
So it would be 3. So it's 5 times 5 is 25, times another 5 gives you the 125. Okay, if you look at the next one, whenever this base is bigger, right, 343 of 7, your answer has to be a fraction. So towards the end of the exponent review that you did on Khan Academy, you learned how to go from a radical, like a cube root, a square root, and how to write it as a fractional power. I know you hated it, but that's what you need for logarithms. So I know that we have to review that. But in the meantime, we're going to think about it backwards. So you can use your cell phone calculator, or if you still have one of mine out, I want you to ask yourself, how many times do I have to multiply 7 by itself to get 343? So is it 10 times? Is it 4 times? 5 times? 2, 3, set? What is it? Okay, so it's 3 times. So 7 times 7 is 49, times another 7 is 343. So thinking about what we did last week, that means 7 cubed is 343, right? We're trying to go backwards. So I have 343. I need to get to 7. So what's the opposite of going to the third power or having a cube? Do you remember that word? It's not a square root, it's a cube root. So you would have to cube root 343. So if you didn't do that particular exercise on Khan Academy, where it said how you go from a cube root to an exponent power, you please review it. So taking the cube root of something is the same as raising it to the 1/3, or to the 1/3, to the 1/3 power. So anytime your base is bigger than the answer, right? 343 is bigger than 7. When you do the equals, it has to be a fraction because you're doing a root. So if you go back and do those exercises, which we'll do a few together, but if you need more, if you go back and do those exercises on Khan Academy, that will make sense. Okay, so go ahead and do that bottom one by yourself, which is log base 6404. And then we'll start together again on the top right column. So I did this part, but basically, is there any power on 343 on the inside? No, so I technically to the first power, so you're going to put 1 there. And then to go from a radical to an exponent power, it would be power over root. So this is called the power, and this is called the root. Okay. So this is the same as saying 343 to the 1/3. So whatever number is outside, that always goes on the bottom of the fraction. Okay. All right, so on the top right, we need to ask ourselves how many times we multiply 6 by itself to get 216. So it'd be 3. If this is a fraction right here, that means your exponent was negative. So that means my answer is already negative. So I know you guys hated it, but there's a reason why we practice negative exponents. That's what gives us the fraction. So if you have a fraction right here, your answer has to be negative. So now we have to ask ourselves, how many times do I have to multiply 3 by itself to get 243? So you can use your calculators. 3 times itself, how many times is 243? 5. So it's 5. So, but it's negative because that's how you get the fraction. So if you need practice with that, go back and review negative exponents on Khan Academy. Or look at your worksheets that we did. So then the next one, log base 2 of 4. So how many times do I have to multiply 2 by itself to get 4? How many times? 2. And then how many times do I multiply 2 by itself to get 16? 4. So good job. Just be careful because the only thing that have people I can't talk today. People miss these answers because they're trying to divide. So people will tell me, oh, well, 16 divided by 2 is 8. That's not what it's asking. It's powers. So how many times do you multiply a number by itself? So it's repeated multiplication. So then the last one, which is not on here, because it's a fraction, should I have a negative number or a positive number? Negative, and what number will it be? 3. Because we already did 216 at the top. All right, so that 1/5, that's the base. The x is in the exponent position, that's the power. And then the y part is the answer. So a trick that we teach students to convert between the two forms is you start at the base, so start here, and you're going to draw a loop all the way around to that exponent. So it's called the loop trick. So you're going to loop it around. So if you notice, that says 1/5 to the x power equals y. That is an exponential form. So I'm going to convert it to logarithmic form. So that means I need to write the word log, so log. The base of my exponential is the same base for my log. So see how I start here? That means when you start converting, that's the number you start with. So this is going to be 1 over 5. So the base of your exponential, that's the big thing, right, is also the thing that's written lower in your logarithm. So if we're following the loop, so I start here, what do I come to next? So after I go from 1 over 5, what do I touch next, or what do I pass up next? So if I follow the loop, x is next. It's y. So that comes next when you're writing the logarithmic form. It's log base 1 over 5 of y equals, and the last thing I touch is the x. So you're actually following the loop. And if you look back on the front page, that box where it says logarithm, I had you write it's log base answer equals exponent. So when you're converting from exponential form to logarithmic form, the power, the exponent, that smaller number at first, should be on the right-hand side of the equal sign. So this is why for this particular unit, it is very, 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 very important that you understand vocabulary. So base is the big thing for exponential form, and the exponent is the small thing, which is the power. On the right-hand side, it already has the word log. The base is u, so the base is written lower. 15 divided by 16 equals v. We do the same thing. You're going to draw a loop starting from the base, which for the log is written lower. So I'm going to start at u, and you draw around. If you already have the word log written there, if you're converting, I shouldn't see a log. So we're going from a logarithm to an exponential. So I start with u. That's my first thing I'm going to put first. What comes next? Is it v or 15 over 16? So if I follow the loop. So it'd be v. So this is second. So it's u to the v equals, what's the last thing? Where's the arrow pointing to? It's 15 over 16. So going back to this, if you're looking at a log, the small thing is the base. The exponent's over here by itself. So when you're converting to exponential form, you take the base first, then the exponent has to equal my answer. So you draw your loop and you follow it around. So follow the loop. Whatever you touch first should be written first. Wherever you hit second, second, and then third, third. Okay, a trick. If you have exponential form, which is the left-hand column, the exponents always last. If you have a logarithm, this part is always last. And as you practice, which we're going to get tons of practice, but the more you do it, you'll see it's the same over and over. Okay, so you're going to convert the remaining ones. You can work by yourself, or you can work with the person next to you. It's completely up to you.